Elsewhere, according to ESPN sources, the Sacramento Kings have opened trade talks for De'Aaron Fox. I'll be joined by our Trailblazer insider, Sean Highkin from Rose Garden Report. He'll join me at 4:20 as we kick off the Rip City Drive. Well, good afternoon, my friends. What's going on? Excited about today. A very big day for a very good reason, and I want to break this down so you guys understand what's going on. Right now, I'm positioned in Dr. Jack's here at the Rose Quarter next to Moda Center, and I'm going to be here for the next 2 hours with the Rip City Drive, and then Chris Burkhardt will take over with Blazers Game Day at 5 o'clock. But today's an important day because we're launching the start of our 50-50 raffle, which is going to continue for the next several weeks. And the whole idea is to raise money and benefit ALS Northwest. Now, many of you know that it has impacted my family greatly. My grandfather, who I knew for quite some time, Donald Luckstead, he had ALS for about 20 years for the first part of my life before he passed away. And when I first met him when I was younger, memories that I still have today, you know, he couldn't speak. He was in a chair because he was immobile, but he could communicate to me with his typewriter, and so that's how we would create a connection. And I spent many summers at my grandma and grandpa's house in Ponca City, Oklahoma, but what jumped out at me was his mind was still incredibly active and very sharp, but he was unable to express himself through his words because he couldn't speak and he could not maneuver. And the hard part was watching my grandma for years and years suffer by taking care of him, and she did it with true love, but her day did not begin until she had him situated, which meant she had to get him up out of bed in the morning. She would wheelchair him into the bathroom. She would bathe him. She would shave him. She would brush his teeth. She would fix his meals, and this happened every single day around the clock for 7 days a week, year after year after year. And so I saw the sacrifice that went into that, and of course this is back before there was a lot more information on ALS and exactly what it was, and there weren't the different types of supports or systems of support to help people like my grandmother out. And so I saw her suffer throughout the course of that process. And that's the real tragedy with this disease, is not just the person that is impacted directly, but also the family members that have to care for them. Well, last year we found out that one of my colleagues and broadcaster here in town, Mike Lynch, who was living out his dream working with the Trailblazers, he was diagnosed with ALS. And so as tragic as that was, I asked myself, you know, what can I do to help? And, you know, a lot of times maybe you can relate to this. You get bad news or you hear about people who are dealing with different health issues, and we want to pray for them and care for them, but I wanted to take action. And so that's when we got partnered up with ALS Northwest and realized that by raising money for them, that they have different ways to help the families and the people that are impacted by ALS. And so that's what we're doing today. So if you go to our website, just go to ripcityradio.com, and you click on the three bars that are in the upper left-hand corner of the website, and you'll see as you work through the drop-down menu, you go to features and then just click on calendar. And once you do that, it will take you directly to the page where you're going to have a link for the 50-50 raffle fundraiser for ALS Northwest. You click on that, and then they've got the link right in there to purchase your raffle tickets. So go in, buy raffle tickets. It gives you a chance to win some cash. But more importantly, you're going to be helping out a great cause, which is ALS Northwest, to help out people like Mike Lynch and his family who are dealing with this. So if you're coming down to the game today, make sure you stop by and say hi. I'll be on until 5. And then Chris Burkhardt will take over with Blazer Game Day right at 5. Now, 4 o'clock, it's a Trailblazer Ticket Tuesday, but today's a even better version because we're giving away, courtesy of Coors Light, the Coors Light Silver Seats. Now, if you haven't seen those, they sit in the 200 level, and they're captain chairs. And what's great about it is that it's its own little setup to where you're separate from the rest of the fans that are sitting there in their regular seats. So you sit down on the captain chairs. You've got the little table in front of you with the cold rail technology so you can have your phones out, and they've got the cold rail technology so when you get your Coors Light, you can put it in the little holder, and it keeps your beverage chilled throughout the entire game. and it's got a place to plug in your phone so you can charge the phone, you can enjoy your beverage, and you and 3 other friends will be able to hang out and enjoy the Coors Light Silver Seats, which they have at multiple arenas across the country. So we're going to give those away at 4 o'clock today. We're going to play Name That Movie. So I've selected a clip from a movie, and the first person with the correct answer at 4 is going to get a 4-pack of tickets for the Coors Light Silver Seats. So that's what we're going to do at 4 o'clock. And then Sean Highkin of Rose Garden Report is going to stop by at 4:20 to be able to talk some basketball. We'll get the latest on him. Of course, the trade deadline is coming up, and the big question is, what are the Blazers going to do? Are they going to be able to do anything? And what about the rest of the teams around the NBA? I had it in my update that De'Aaron Fox, the Kings have opened up trade talks for De'Aaron Fox. The big question is, with the second apron and the issues it's causing for these teams financially, what names with big contracts are going to be able to be moved? That's the big question. And for the Blazers, what I've been told, if a player is to be moved before the deadline, Jeremy Grant would be the likely choice. Now, obviously, they're going to have to look to move others, possibly Anthony Simons, maybe DeAndre Ayton, but that might not come until later in the summer as teams continue to try and figure out the new financials with this CBA and how it's going to impact everything moving forward. The summertime, an easier time to move players out, big contracts out, so maybe we have to wait until that time before the Blazers continue to open up more time and more space for their young players. My reason for optimism right now with the team is pretty simple. It's 5 players, 5 young players who are developing and contributing. That would be Scoot Henderson, who we are seeing now over the last few weeks, and especially the last 7 games, we're seeing him take that next step. He's shooting the ball better. He's playing at a more comfortable pace. He's being more decisive in his decision-making and his attack, and he's showing an ability to finish around the rim with contact, which is nice. Now, Shaedon Sharpe needs to continue to improve. He's shown flashes of brilliance with his play this year. My only concern about Shaedon Sharpe right now is that he still appears to be struggling with knowing when to be aggressive, when to attack, and when to really understand that, hey, the team needs you to step up and try to take over the game. I see a lot of passiveness in his game right now. He's young, and I think with encouragement and maybe the recent benching for the lack of defensive effort and performance, according to Coach Billups, that we're going to see him continue to push forward. I was talking with someone last night, and I would say the player that Shaedon Sharpe reminds me of is someone that used to play for the Lakers. You remember Eldon Campbell? Eldon Campbell was a wildly talented big, and he would have games and moments where he would explode and play tremendous basketball, and then he would have stretches where he would disappear and be really a non-factor. And I think a lot of that was because with his talent and his ability, he was tremendous, but he was very passive. And so I think for Shaedon, that next step is to learn to be more aggressive and be in attack mode and really understand that the team, your teammates support you, your coach wants you to. Don't hesitate to try and take it over. And then the reason why I like the benching is because Coach Billups is saying, look, you're not just an average player. You've got a chance to be great, and so I'm not going to settle for you not putting in your best effort and focus on the defensive end. You need to be a complete player. You don't want to be a one-way player. That's very important. Outside of that, you got Donovan Clingan. He's a rookie. He's earning more minutes. He's getting his conditioning up. But I think it's safe to say that the Blazers stole someone there in the first round. His defense, his shot blocking, he's a smart basketball player. But in the limited minutes he's played this year, you can tell that the Blazers found themselves a special one. Now, the 2 guys I'm most excited about are at the forward spot. Deni Avdija, who came over in the draft day trade from Washington, has been spectacular. 28 points, 8 boards, 8 assists on Sunday. His playmaking, his aggressiveness in transition, the way he pushes the tempo, Coach Billups loves that. And then his physicality that Michael Holton was talking about, where now when he gets a defender out of position, not in good guarding position, he uses his little forearm shiver, the physicality to get a guy off his spot, and he gets right at the rim and gets the looks that he wants. He gets to his spots. He can shoot the 3. He's energetic on both ends. He's a great two-way player, and he's getting better with each passing game. He's my favorite guy on the team. Like his attitude, he's becoming more vocal. You can tell that his teammates appreciate him, and so we're seeing that progress in his game. And then you got Toumani Camara, best defender on the team. He's relentless. He attacks. He's the quintessential Chauncey Billups type player. What I love about this past game that we saw against Oklahoma City, he scored a career-high 24 points. After the game, when asked, hey, was that your best offensive performance? He's like, well, honestly, I'm frustrated because I didn't play the type of defense that I expect to play. My one-on-one defense wasn't good enough. I didn't stay in front of my guy. And so when I hear that, and he's coming off a career-high 24 points, but he's not satisfied because he didn't like his one-on-one defense, that's the perfect mentality. Those are the type of players you want. Those are the guys that will set the tone, and those are guys that are going to compete in practice and demand that from their teammates. So when you have two guys like Avdia and Kamara, two legit wings with length and can play on both ends of the floor, that puts you in a good position. So now the Blazers moving forward need to create ways to get more minutes for these young players, all five of them, and continue to push their development. That's going to be the silver lining moving forward. And I think if you put everything else aside with your frustrations with the team or the losing or the last couple of seasons, and you look at the development of those five guys, that should give you some hope. And then, of course, moving into the summertime, they're going to have another good draft pick. So my guess would be after the deadline, regardless of the moves that are made, we'll probably see a lot of the veterans shut down, and then they'll make ways for the young players to continue to play and develop, and then they'll make that push towards lottery position. That's how I kind of see it, playing out. That's how I see things going. So there you have it. That's the latest on the Trailblazers. The great thing about tonight, national television, your only nationally televised game of the season, and it's against Damian Lillard and the Bucks. And yes, is it on national TV because of Dame? Well, of course. But it's a great opportunity for the young Blazers like Kamara, like Avdia, like Scoot, like Shaden to get out there on that stage where everyone's going to be watching and get a chance to show what you can do. And it's really good timing because the Trailblazers, 4-1 in their last five, they're playing some of their best basketball of the season. And more importantly, they're doing it on both ends with better defense, the execution, the energy. So I expect the Blazers to win tonight. I think they'll play well. I expect them to win. Milwaukee played a game last night in Utah where their starters played big minutes. So there's going to be a rest advantage for Portland, and they'll have a chance to have a fine moment as we get closer to the deadline. But that's what's at stake tonight. And for Dame, I'm probably with most of you. I love the guy. He's one of my favorite Trailblazers of all time. He's a legend in this town, and I respect and appreciate him because I know he loves Portland. I know family's important to him, but anytime you have a chance to see him play or any chance he has to come back, it's going to be special. All right, we'll keep things rolling. We kick off the 50-50 raffle to benefit ALS Northwest, and we're going to dig deeper into that next. We'll play Name That Movie at 4 o'clock for your Coors Light Silver seats. And then Sean Highkin will join the show at 4:20 here on your home of the Blazers, 620 Rip City Radio. Chad doing live at Dr. Jack's. You got the Rip City Drive. All right, Rip City Drive, we are live right now. We're live right now from Dr. Jack's as we are kicking off the 50-50 raffle for ALS Northwest. And what a big night it is. And a couple of things I want to let you know. If you go to our website, ripcityradio.com, and you hit the three-bar little menu in the top left corner, you'll come down and you'll see features. Hit that and then go to calendar. And once you do that, you're going to see the link for the 50-50 raffle fundraiser, which is benefiting ALS Northwest. And we're starting it today, and I shared my story, and joining me right now from ALS Northwest is my main man, Lance Christensen, who's been on the show before. It's great to have him back, and Cassie Adams. Guys, thanks for coming down.
Thank you. It's great to be here, Chad.
All right. Well, I appreciate your guys' time. And I like the event this year. You know, last year we did Chillin' for a Cause, which was over at the Jackson's Food Mart close to the station. But this year, I think with the raffle, it gives more people an opportunity to participate because they don't have to be somewhere specific. They can just easily pick up their tickets online.
I think you like it better, Chad, because you're not having to sit in a cooler for 4 hours.
That too, because in the third hour, my teeth started chattering, and I did really start to get legitimately cold. It was crazy.
But Cassie, who is our incoming executive director, she can tell more about the raffle. It's an amazing opportunity.
Yeah, it's a great opportunity. We're so appreciative of the partnership with iHeart. Yeah, it's a great way to make a big difference, and participants can log in and purchase a raffle ticket, and 50% of those proceeds go to ALS Northwest and supporting people living with ALS and their families throughout Oregon and Southwest Washington.
Well, Cassie, I shared my story a bit. You know, obviously the person that's impacted directly, it's awful and it's tragic, and you know we hope to find a cure someday. But I think the other big part of it too is not just the person impacted directly, but the friends and family members who are there to care for the individual. There's a lot of expense and work that goes into that, and that's why some of the services you provide are so critical.
Absolutely. As we always say, if you get a diagnosis of ALS, it really impacts the person, but it also impacts their entire family and their entire community. And that's exactly what we at ALS Northwest are all about. We're here to support the entire family and their community through the diagnosis. We offer support through medical equipment loans, financial assistance. You mentioned the high expense, care partner support as well. People who are experiencing this with their loved one, it's so critical that they get that support and guidance along the way as well.
Well, Lance, you've been doing this for a long time. Why is it so critical for people to reach out and support ALS Northwest? What are some of the challenges you have, and why is it so critical for people to step up?
Yeah, thanks so much, Chad. This is a disease that impacts not just the person with the diagnosis, but everyone they touch. And as Cassie mentioned, it's a very expensive disease, and our programs offer direct, immediate supports to people living now, but also our mission to support research and advocacy to make a difference, because we want to advocate for the government funding for research and also directly fund research so that we can bring new treatments into the clinics. And we have an amazing support network with our local ALS clinics that offer clinical trials.
Absolutely. Yeah, we work very closely with the Providence ALS Center here in Portland, OHSU, the Portland VA, Kaiser, and over in Central Oregon, over in the Bend area. And we work very collaboratively with those teams, and they are able to bring clinical trial support to people living with ALS right here and right now.
Yeah, we generate all the funds locally that we provide to provide these supports. There's no big government or insurance funding. Our nonprofit is directly funded by the public and by our special events and supporters, and with all of that combined, we have this mission to help people in the right now while we work to find treatments so that this disease, we can make an end to it.
We're here at Dr. Jack's getting ready for the Trailblazers and Bucks. We're kicking off our 50-50 raffle to benefit ALS Northwest. I'm joined right now by Cassie Adams and Lance Christensen. So for those who don't know, Lance, can you give us a quick background on what the heck ALS is
Sure.
and how it came to be, kind of the origin of that?
Yeah, so ALS is a progressive and degenerative motor neuron disease that impacts motor neurons that go from the brain and the spinal cord out to all the voluntary muscles that control everything, like our walking, our use of our hands and arms, our breathing, our swallowing. And unfortunately, people with ALS who get this diagnosis, sadly for most people, it's terminal within 2 to 4 years from diagnosis. Now, there are some people who live much longer, but on average, it's about 2 to 4 years. And people may lose their ability to walk, use their hands, arms, speak, swallow, and breathe. And so as that happens in a progressive manner, just there's high needs for extensive medical care and community support and the caregiving, like you mentioned, that your grandfather needed.
Hey, Cassie, with some of the families and people you deal with, like what are the biggest challenges that they face that you hear on a regular basis?
Oh yeah, there's many challenges as you can imagine. The financial piece is a huge part. There's, as Lance mentioned, there's medical equipment, specialized care, transportation. There's so many additional costs that families have to face. Additionally, just the emotional impact of getting this kind of diagnosis and figuring out how do I live my life and how do I live my life well? What does my quality of life look like? And that's a lot of what our social workers and care coordinators really work to help people kind of navigate.
Well, that's actually a good place to start. When someone gets a diagnosis, I would imagine you guys can plug those families into the people to help them, because before you get to the nuts and bolts of dealing with the disease, you probably have to understand, accept, and embrace the horrific news. That's a process unto itself, right?
Yeah, for sure. We working closely with medical providers. We are often the first people that reach out to people when they get this news, and we take pride in being able to do home visits and go out and meet people in their own communities across Oregon and Southwest Washington, so that people have a compassionate, caring, friendly face to help them navigate this at a time when they're maybe very emotionally distraught or overwhelmed. And we can help try to calm the waters, help them understand their disease, the symptoms they're experiencing, and their choices so they can get some control.
How many challenges are there with, I know from talking to people who have run nonprofits that, there's so many nonprofits out there, and of course ALS is not the only horrific disease we're hoping to find a cure for. So how challenging is that to get your word out about ALS when you're competing with so many other organizations that are looking to get funding for research or help in their categories that they're working with?
It's a great question. I mean, I think we do all that we can to raise awareness. I mean, the more people that know about this diagnosis, the better, the more funds we're going to raise towards research, the more we can push for public policy and advocacy that will impact people. It really is it's still considered a rare diagnosis.
And it makes a big difference, Chad, when there's some high-profile people who get diagnosed. It raises awareness. People like Steve Gleason, who played for the New Orleans Saints, Kevin Shaw, O.J. Briggins, all kinds of other NFL athletes. But most famously, still to this day, Lou Gehrig. Lou Gehrig is the most famous athlete ever to develop ALS, that many people just know it as Lou Gehrig's disease. And so those people who use their celebrity to raise awareness make a big difference.
Have you discovered over the course of time, has there been research is there any commonalities amongst the people that have been stricken with the disease that's come about?
Yeah, so around 10 to 15% of ALS we know to be genetic or familial, and so there's a genetic connection. But for the majority of people, anyone can get ALS, and it can be related to genes and interactions with environmental factors. And there are some studies that show that athletes, people who participate in endurance sports, have a higher risk of developing ALS. And so it makes sense that's why we see some fair number of athletes get ALS. And then there is some research as well related to maybe head trauma being a risk factor, which makes sense with some of the contact sports.
Yeah, especially with football, right, where head injuries have become, one of the top, things to focus on. The NFL is, after years of concealing it, has now gone through great lengths to be able to protect that. And I think now parents are being more aware of what type of activities their kids are participating in to prevent those type of head injuries.
For sure. And there's just more work to be done to understand what it causes ALS. Do not interpret us to say don't put your kids into sports.
No.
It really is an area of research to understand the connection. And there's just more to know, and that's why we have to fund more science.
Absolutely. There's still a lot of questions out there.
So have there been any recent breakthroughs or successes in terms of research and the issues that they're working on?
Yeah, there's actually been a recent medication come to market about a year ago called tofersen, and it is for one of those genetic variants that Lance mentioned, for a very specific type of person with a specific type of genetic mutation for ALS, which of course doesn't impact the broader population of people, but I really believe that every new advancement that we make in research pushes us a little bit further along. And we've had 2 other medications come on the market in the last 5 years, which is an incredible feat for ALS after not having had a new medication for 20 years.
And you mentioned some of the equipment that people will utilize, whether it be beds or wheelchairs, transportation, and different things they need for support. How does insurance work with a serious disease like ALS? Because I don't know, and I think it's important to make that connection so people understand why it's important to be able to contribute and assist.
Yeah, for sure. We always want insurance to cover what insurance is supposed to cover.
Yes.
But what we find is that it's often slow or doesn't quite cover it all. And there's things that you'd think that you would need that you'll find your insurance plan doesn't cover. And that's where we step in to fill gaps. And where a person may need a power wheelchair, but their insurance might want to take 6 months to approve it, we're going to get one out within a week.
And how much does a power wheelchair cost?
Cassie, what's the current estimate?
I think about a brand new power wheelchair with all the bells and whistles is close to about $40,000.
Yeah.
That's a lot of money.
It's a huge amount of money, and we're able to really, as Lance mentioned, we're able to step in and provide that very quickly to families when insurance isn't able to.
So that's very tangible. So for people who are dealing with a family member that has ALS, they have insurance that will cover everything up to a point, but then there are these gaps, and so you may be in a situation where you need the power wheelchair for mobilization, but you don't have insurance to cover it, so how am I going to come up with the $40,000? And that's where a place like ALS Northwest can step up to assist in that matter.
Absolutely. Or we get it faster. We get it faster while the person's working through their own insurance, and we just want to fill those gaps where things are slow or there's no coverage, and provide financial support for things that aren't covered at all. Like we give financial assistance to help people with home modifications or accessible transportation or things that just aren't insurance covered, period.
I didn't even think about that. You're right, because if your home is set up in a certain way, well, now someone with ALS, you'll need to make modifications to be able to make movement around the home easier.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, that's one of the big challenging factors for many families to navigate is.
So what would be an example of that, like stairways or entryways into the house or bathrooms, or is that what we're talking about?
All of the above, yeah. Stairs leading up into the home, going outside of the home, dealing with even the width of a door frame can be a challenge for people as they're planning to use a walker or a wheelchair in the home.
So are these all things like when people sit down, and I would imagine you can assist them in things to consider, things that they haven't thought about yet, but coming down the road, these are things you're going to have to consider and deal with.
Yeah, it's a delicate dance. You want to encourage people to live now and live to their fullest with their abilities while they can, while you also help them prepare for the things they may need. And looking forward, about home accessibility or equipment or things like that, helping people navigate and make a plan that works for them, and ultimately supporting each person just to decide what's the right fit for them.
That makes sense too. Like if you're diagnosed, it's like, hey, take advantage of the time you have while you can still move and function.
Absolutely.
Yeah, for sure.
How difficult is it to communicate that information to families that are dealing with this? That's got to be hard.
It can be, but I think we find that there's a lot of joy in just supporting people to navigate what their goals are and what they really hope for in life.
I can't tell you, Chad, you know this, but I'm retiring this week after 22 years.
I heard
with
about
ALS
that,
Northwest.
yes.
Yeah, and Cassie is succeeding me as executive director. And in those 22 years, it's always blown me away. You'll go out to meet with a family who's got this horrible news, but that's impacting their entire life. You provide them information and support, and they express nothing but love and gratitude. And they're just like, they're dealing with the worst thing in the world, and they're like, these heroes are grateful to us for the little things that we can do. But then the next thing is like, well, how can I help somebody else? And that's the most humbling thing, is when someone faces a challenge like this, that they say, I'm going to deal with this, but how can I help somebody else?
That's awesome.
And there's just amazing heroes out there.
Do you often connect families with other families to be able to communicate
all the
struggles
time.
And all of that stuff? Because I would imagine if I get diagnosed with ALS, but I'm able to talk to someone who's been dealing with it maybe for a year or two or whatever, and they can walk me through some of the process and let me know what to expect, that would be very helpful.
Absolutely. It's one of the best ways, to connect people directly, one-on-one. And we also have a lot of robust support groups in our community all across Oregon and Southwest Washington. So people can come together, and the most beautiful support groups are really when people are talking to each other and connecting before the meeting and after the meeting. We know a lot of people who have friendships that have come out of support groups.
What have you found from people who actually have the disease? How do they want to be treated after the diagnosis or dealt with or communicated with?
People are just people. You know,
Yeah.
you don't stop being Chad if you get a medical diagnosis. You're just Chad. So you're the same person. You're dealing with something challenging, but you know, if he's your buddy, you rib and give a hard time, keep ribbing him and give him a hard time.
So what are you going to do in retirement? You going back to Oklahoma, or what are you doing?
I am going to do a little bit of that.
Yeah.
But some travel. I'm going to do some volunteer work. I'm not letting go of this mission at all. After our 22 years, it's in my heart, it's in my blood, it's in my bones. And so I'm taking off my leader hat and putting on the supporter hat.
Yeah.
And so you'll see me at the walks and at all the different ALS Northwest events. And hopefully I'll come on here and chat with you again, Chad. And
We can talk about Oklahoma football being disappointing in year one in the SEC.
oh, that's salt in a wound, Chad.
So brutal.
So that's salt in a wound. I
So
tell
brutal.
You.
So
But there's always hope. There's
hope.
always next season.
Cassie, what led you into nonprofit work?
Yeah, well, I started with ALS Northwest 8 years ago, and Lance hired me himself. My background is a social worker, and I came in just really wanting to lean into this mission, and have just fallen in love with the work, and have had the greatest privilege of being able to learn from Lance and work alongside so many families, and just have learned so much about living.
Can you believe that we're both from Oklahoma? When I met him, he told me where he's from. I was like, get out of here. You're not from Oklahoma.
Hey, Chad, boomer.
Sooner.
But more importantly today, let's create an end to ALS.
Yes.
This 50-50 raffle is an amazing opportunity for people to have some fun and do something where you could win, but then also it's really going to benefit this mission that we've talked about.
All right, we have multiple posts out on social, but if you go to our website, ripcityradio.com, and you click on the little three-bar menu, top left corner, hit that. You come down to features and just go to calendar, and it's going to bring up the icon, the link for the 50-50 raffle fundraiser for ALS Northwest. Hit that, and then you'll see right in the middle of the story, here's the link. So if you hit that, it takes you right to the link where you can buy your raffle tickets, and you can get tickets, 400 tickets for $100, 100 tickets for $50, 25 tickets for $25, or you can buy 5 tickets for $10. So even if you just want to buy 5 tickets and kick in $10, every dollar amount is going to make a difference.
And Cassie, when is this raffle going to?
For 6 weeks.
Are 6 weeks, and we are picking the winning ticket on March 12th at 10 a.m.
March 12th. Let me get that. I got to make sure I mark that on March 12th at 10 a.m.
Yes.
Okay. All right, good. Well, this is perfect. I really appreciate you guys taking time to come down and spread the word about what we're trying to accomplish. And, like I said, I don't know some of the long-term impacts of that we have exposure to. So
Yeah. And Mike's an amazing guy and has an amazing legacy in the sports community here. And it's a tribute to all of you on his behalf and in support of him, but also all the people living with ALS, that everyone at iHeart and Rip City 620 want to make a difference.
All right, good. All right, Cassie Adams, who will take over for Lance. How long? A week or 2 weeks?
It's a couple days.
Oh, you're shutting it down in a couple days?
Lance's last day is Friday.
I'm going to Mexico next week, Jim.
Oh, you are?
Yeah.
Which part?
Sayulita.
Very nice. How long are you going to be down there?
Oh, about
To
10
be determined?
No, about 10 days. My wife's got to get back to work.
Oh, she's going back to work. That's great. Well, I appreciate you guys. Cassie Adams, who will be taking over for Lance. They're both with ALS Northwest. And what is it? ALSNorthwest.org, the website.
Yes.
So you can go there
ALS
for more
Northwest.
information. I appreciate you guys.
Oh, thank you so
Thank
much,
you so
Chad.
much. All right, we'll keep things rolling. Chris Burkhart's going to stop by. Sean Hyken will be by at 4:20 to talk ball. And we got our 4-pack for the Coors Light Silver Seats that we'll give away coming up at 4 o'clock here on 620 Rip City Radio. All right, we're live here at Dr. Jack's, getting ready for the Trailblazers and Bucks, which will tip off at 7. So Damian Lillard is back in town, and Chris Burkhardt is joining me right now as we kick off the 50-50 raffle to benefit ALS Northwest. So all you have to do is go to the website, hit the 3-bar menu on the top left, and go down to the features, hit calendar, and you'll see the link right there for the 50-50 raffle fundraiser for ALS Northwest. If you hit that, you'll see here's the link, and you can go there and buy your raffle tickets. You can get 400 tickets for 100, 100 tickets for 50, 25 tickets for 25, or 5 tickets for 10. And this is going to continue on for 6 weeks. So you'll have a chance to win some cash, and we're going to raise money for ALS Northwest as we kick it off today. And Chris Burkhardt is with me right now. I want to play this clip for you. I know you were there, but I love this clip. Tamani Kamara, after OKC, so he had scored a career-high 24 points. He was asked, hey, was this your best offensive performance? This is Tamani Kamara's response. Take a listen.
Yes, just how efficient it was offensively. And I feel like I was able to make great reads. But, yeah, I feel like defensively it wasn't a great game for me. I feel like I was getting beat on one-on-ones way too easily, which is something that I take a lot of pride in. And I don't know, there's just some days where, the effort was still there. It's just, I don't know, I wasn't moving my feet like I usually do, and it was frustrating. But a lot of times my teammates had my back. But, yeah, it's just on to the next one and just learn from this game.
You know what I love about that is he has his best offensive game, and he quickly turns it into, hey, look, man, my defense sucked. I didn't do a good enough job in one-on-one defense and stay in front of my guy.
That's beautiful, ain't it?
It's beautiful.
Isn't it beautiful? Because that was nowhere near what the question was. It was about the offensive performance and the fact that he went straight to the defensive side of things, man. I think that's why he's so good, because you got to care on that end of the ball. And what makes it even crazier is he leaves that game disappointed, yet I watched that game going, oh, my gosh, the defense this guy plays is incredible. He had stops or defensive plays on Shai Gilgeous-Alexander where I'm just like, how did Shai make that shot? That was perfect defense. And he's still upset with himself. That's why I think that guy has first-team all-defense in his future, man. He's phenomenal.
That's got to be the quintessential mentality that Coach Billups is looking for. And when you have a good player, one of your best players, talking like that, that has to have an impact on the culture and the rest of the guys.
I think a lot of players, Chad, in this league say they're about defense, but then when it comes down to it, they don't really want to play defense because,
there's a price to pay.
Well, defense doesn't show up on the box score quite as much, right? The points and the rebounds and the assists do. But, no, when you get that mentality, I think that's exactly what Coach wants, and that's why he's been playing so good this season.
How excited are you the second time around now that Dame's back in town?
I'm excited because I think you have a chance tonight to see perhaps a Dame game that you're used to, right? I think you come in, the butterflies of being your first game back are gone, right? Now you're fully integrated into being a member of the Milwaukee Bucks, and now you just go do your thing. So I'm excited because just watching Dame is good, and I think Blazer fans will be a little more excited this time just to see him rather than the whole fiasco of it, because you watch what's going down in Miami with Jimmy Butler right now, and then you can look at the Dame situation and go, you know what, Dame, thanks for not burning every single bridge on your way out and doing it, fairly respectably.
What do you think's going on with Jimmy? Is he just trying to force their hand to get him out of town?
Oh, he's 100% trying to force his hand to get him out of town. I said this before, Chad, and I know there's different situations for every single team, but when you're in Minnesota and it doesn't work, and you're in Chicago and it doesn't work, and you're in Philadelphia and it doesn't work, and then you go to Miami and it doesn't work, there's one common denominator in all four of those spots, and it's Jimmy Butler.
Yeah, it's tough. I really like him, and I love watching him play, so I don't like to see the shenanigans there.
Yeah, that's
he's too good for that.
That's exactly it. It's the shenanigans part of it, because he still brings it on both ends of the floor. A very, very good player. Very seems. I love his comedic side. He understands when to laugh and have a little bit of fun. But also, when tensions start rising, man, it's time to get out of there. So he's definitely forcing his hand out.
All right, one more thought on the Blazers. So we got the deadline coming up. Regardless of who is moved out or if no moves are made or whatever, I anticipate some of the veterans being shut down and the youth will get a chance to play the rest of the stretch or down the stretch the rest of the season.
Right.
Is that how you see things playing out as they position themselves for the lottery? How do you think it's going to go?
I would hope so, but I also find it hard to get a read on what Billups and the organization wants to do. I mean, one night Scoot's not playing in the fourth quarter till Shea fouls out, and then the next night he's playing crunch time minutes against OKC with the clock winding down. So I don't know. Now, if they don't move some of these vets, and I think it's going to be really hard to do so with I think the trade deadline might end up being quiet, but it might also just be crazy. Who knows? But they have to, man. You've got to get Scoot in there. You've got to get Shea back in that starting lineup. You've got to get Kling and Run. You can't sit here and say that it's about development and then start all the vets and not develop the young guys. And I want to point out real quick, too, because everyone likes to argue on social media about how the minutes matter, right? And oh, they got 20 minutes. Yeah, you didn't get 30. You know, being a starter doesn't matter, blah, blah, blah. I want you to look at Ryan Rupert, right? He gets sent down to the G League, goes down there and plays the other night. And what did he say after the game? It was just nice to get run and get to actually play the game. Right? So when you sit there and Donovan Clingan has those nights where he's getting 12 minutes a night, or Scoot's getting, DMPs in the entire fourth quarter, that hurts development no matter what you say.
All right. I tried to reach out to some people I know to get an idea of why Scoot's minutes were reduced after such a great stretch of basketball. Do you think it's they were wanting to give minutes to other guys to showcase before the deadline, or is it just simply that Billups is in a position where he's trying to win games right now, and so he's going to lean on his veteran players?
I think it's impossible for a guy like Coach Billups to do anything but try to put what he thinks is the best lineup on the floor, because he's a winner, like he was when he played, and I think that's what he wants to do when he coaches. I think this idea of they're putting the vets out there to showcase them is overblown and a crutch to lean on, because Jeremy Grant has been in this league for 10 years, Chad. You know what Jeremy Grant is. You got plenty of film on Jeremy Grant. You don't need to showcase him. People know what Ant is. They know what Ayton is. Like, you don't got to showcase those guys. Now, if I want to trade Scoot, yeah, I might want to showcase him a little bit because the jury's still out of him. The vets, you know what they are.
All right, Super Bowl. We get a rematch from a couple years ago, Chiefs and Eagles. What's your first take on the matchup, having a chance to consider it?
I think this one favors the Eagles. I think the front seven of defensively for Kansas City has played really well, and they got some questionable shutdowns in the run game against Buffalo. But the offensive line of Philadelphia has been great. They have been opening up holes as big as a bus for Saquon to run through. That's why he's had the best year of his career and is playing just like an absolute stud. I mean, he's the reason, majorly, a reason that the Eagles are where they are right now. I think you hand him the ball up the middle, you start doing some damage to that Kansas City Chiefs front seven, and if they start loading the box a little bit, I think that allows Jalen Hurts to go off. Because, Buffalo, everyone else they played, they got good weapons, but they don't have a Saquon to really, really keep the defense on their toes.
Kansas City favored by 2. I think it's going to be a great game. We'll come back. We'll have more. Sean Hiking going to stop by at 4:20. But coming up next, we're going to play Name That Movie for your chance to get 4 tickets to sit in the Coors Light Silver Seats coming up for Sunday's game against Phoenix. Your chance to win is next. Be here or be nowhere. All right, we're live at Dr. Jack's to kick off our 50-50 raffle to benefit ALS Northwest. Rip City Drive is up until 5. Chris Burkhart and Blazers game day 5 to 6 from Dr. Jack's. Stop by and say hi if you're on your way to the game. We have Trailblazer Ticket Tuesday coming up next. I'm giving away the Coors Light silver seats for Sunday's game against Phoenix, courtesy of Coors Light. All you have to do is listen to me for your chance to win. We'll play Name That Movie. Trailblazers have won 4 of their last 5. Damian Lillard and the Bucks in town tonight. That tip at 7. Milwaukee is playing in the second of a back-to-back after last night's win at Utah. Elsewhere in the league, according to ESPN sources, the Sacramento Kings have opened trade talks for De'Aaron Fox. Jerry Jones spoke on the future of the Cowboys with Brian Schottenheimer as head coach.
There's a very low percentage of this that is smiles and glory holes. Very low percentage.
Thanks, Jerry. All right, Rip City Drive live here at Dr. Jack's. Chris Burkhart is with me. He's got Blazer Game Day coming up at 5 o'clock. Sean Highkin of Rose Garden Report, our Trailblazer Insider, will stop by and join us at 4:20 to talk some ball with Damian Lillard and the Bucks in town tonight. But we're here because today we're kicking off the 50-50 raffle to benefit ALS Northwest, which was inspired by our colleague Mike Lynch and my grandfather to really help those families that are in need who are learning to deal with the tragic nature of this disease, for those who have been stricken and for the family members who have to provide care. So what I want you to do is go to our website, ripcityradio.com, and just click on the 3-bar menu drop-down in the left-hand corner. And when you do that, you'll see the menu. Scroll on down to Features, and then click on Calendar. And when you do so, it'll pop up the link for the 50-50 raffle fundraiser for ALS Northwest. And when you hit that, you'll have the link to purchase your raffle tickets. And if you go there right now, you can purchase raffle tickets, 400 tickets for 100, 100 tickets for 50, 25 tickets for 25, or 5 tickets for 10. And the proceeds, 50% of them will go to benefit ALS Northwest. So it gives you a chance to really help out in a big way, but also to put yourself in a position to win some dollars. So good luck to you, and join us in helping benefit ALS Northwest. Now, we have 4 tickets, and you were in the Coors Light silver seats a couple of years ago when we were down there.
I was.
You enjoyed it, didn't you?
Oh, it's a nice little spot. Good seat. I was a fan of the can cooler, right? You know, you put your can down there, keeps it nice and chill. It was a good little spot.
All right, so let me give you a little preview of what's going to happen. One, you'll get 4 tickets, so you and 3 other friends or family members can go to the game on Sunday against Phoenix. You will be able to sit up in the Coors Light silver seats. So they're big, cushy captain's chairs, so you can relax and enjoy yourself. You have a bird's eye view of the courts, and you're separated from everybody else, so you have your own little area. You've got the cold rail technology, so you got a little table in front of you. You've got a place to put your Coors Light to keep it cold throughout the entire night, and you've got a place to plug in your cell phone, so you're totally dialed in. And I believe you'll get a visit from some of the dancers who are going to bring up some swag for you as well.
I forgot about the charger. That's important stuff today. 2025.
Yes.
Gotta have a phone charger.
Not every place is the Intuit Dome where they've got it automatically built into your seats, which it should be. Every place should have it now. Well, you've got that with the Coors Light silver seats. Visit from the dancers, place to hang out with you and your friends, cold rail technology, place to plug in the phone, the whole deal, and you'll be able to do it in the luxury seats of the Coors Light silver seats section. So we're going to play Name That Movie. I selected a clip from a movie. The first person with the correct answer of the movie is going to get the Coors Light silver seats. And you'll come on air with me. So here is the clip. First person with the correct answer, your telephone number to call. Shacker will answer, 503-248-0620, 503-248-0620. What is the name of this movie right here?
No. One rib.
One rib.
I sure am hungry.
I sure am hungry. 503-248-0620. Name this movie.
No. One rib.
One rib.
I sure am hungry.
503-248-0620. Have you seen that movie before, Burkhart?
I know the clip. Yeah. It's I know exactly who says it.
Yeah.
I know exactly.
The
who
voice
says
is recognizable.
Oh, very, very.
All right, 503-248-0620.
I can see his face when he says it too. The very, very distinctive face for that particular actor.
All right, we'll hit it one more time for you because, well, I like to hear it, and it will give you a chance. 503-248-0620. First person correct answer, name this movie.
No. One rib.
One rib.
I sure am hungry.
All right, 503-248-0620. 503-248-0620 is your telephone number. Shacker will be in search of the winner. 503-248-0620. All right, Chris. Jerry Jones talking about the future with Brian Schottenheimer as coach. Here's what he had to say.
There's a very low percentage of this that is smiles and glory holes. Very low percentage.
Is there anything better than Jerry Jones referencing glory holes?
I mean, come on, Jerry. Like,
all right, BT. BT is his name. Let's go out to the phones right now. BT, welcome to the Rip City Drive, my friend.
Hey, thanks for having me.
All right, you ready to play Name That Movie?
I think so.
All right, take a listen to this.
No. One rib.
One rib.
I sure am hungry.
All right, BT, what's the name of that movie?
I believe it is I'm Gonna Get You Sucker, and that's Chris Rock.
Yes, you got the bonus question, Chris Rock. Congratulations, man. I love that. That's a hilarious movie. That clip is amazing. So you get the 4 tickets for the Coors Light Silver Seats for Sunday's game against Phoenix. You'll be able to sit in the captain's chairs. You'll get the cold rail technology, the place to plug in your phone, courtesy of Coors Light. Your Shacker will get your information. You'll be dialed in.
That is awesome. Thank you.
All right, there you go. There is BT. He is the winner of the Coors Light Silver Seats, courtesy of Name That Movie. And that's a great place to sit and check out a game. Yeah, with Dallas, I know no one is excited about the Brian Schottenheimer hire. My biggest problem with Dallas with the hire is the process in which they went through to find their coach. They waited and beat around the bush in their talks with Mike McCarthy. Mm-hmm. So in that time, they missed out on an opportunity to talk to some of the other several high-profile candidates who are available. And in the process, you miss out on a chance to maybe land a guy. Plus, talk to other people that can sit down and share their thoughts on your team, your franchise, and what they would do to improve it so you don't information gather, and then you're stuck with a guy that was on staff that no one was wanting to hire as a head coach.
Yeah, it seems like some classic Dallas Cowboy mismanagement. Like, yeah, go. The current staff wasn't getting it done, so let's keep it within the staff. I also don't know if it was necessarily a bad move, though, because I do think the leader in the clubhouse, if you're listening to social media, was like, oh, it had to be Prime, had to be Coach Prime. And full disclosure, he did some good things at Colorado, but he's also there for his boys, and he has a son poised to be a very high pick in the upcoming draft. But I still think Dion has a lot to learn as a head coach. I don't know if he's quite NFL ready just yet. The name can only get you so far.
Why do I feel like you're sliding Coach Prime right now?
Because do you really think what he did at Colorado was some great coaching?
Yeah, I do.
I don't.
When he took over the program, they had won 1 game, and every loss was by an average of 29 points. So they were the worst program in Division I football. He comes in, and he retools the entire roster, and within 2 years, he had a Heisman Trophy winner, and he's going to have 2 players who are going to be selected in the top 5 of the draft, and they nearly got to the Big 12 championship game. So taking the worst program in the country and getting them near a Big 12 title game in 2 years, I think, is impressive work.
Yeah, but he also put Shiloh out there on the field every single play too, and he was getting beat left and right. So, I think a lot of coaches can win games with one of the best arms in football and easily the best player in football. So.
Man, I can't believe the hate that you're pushing on Coach Prime right now. I think the reason why Coach Prime doesn't leave Colorado is very simple. At Colorado, he can run the program how he wants.
He ain't going to be able to do that in Jerry's world, that's for sure.
He has full autonomy. And, obviously with Coach Schottenheimer, he's just thrilled to have an opportunity to be a head coach, so he'll do Jerry's bidding.
Yeah, trust me. If we were on radio in Denver, I'd be hearing it because Coach Prime likes to go at the media there. And I'm not dogging him. I think he needs just a little more refinement for my liking.
Oh, my goodness. Coach Prime, I'm a big fan, but I think he got into coaching for the right reasons, and I want him to have success. The good thing is that even though His sons have moved on, so has Travis Hunter. He's still doing a good job of pulling in some big names, recruiting-wise. And you got to be able to recruit to win in college football. You know that, and I do. And I think, and not only that, but he's hired good assistants, the staff around him, which is good, so he can be the CEO-type head coach.
It works for him. Works for him.
All right, Pete Carroll, the new head man with the Raiders. Do you like the hire by Las Vegas to bring in Pete Carroll?
I just like Pete Carroll, and I like the Marshawn Lynch sighting at his presser because he's absolutely great.
They're boys.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see where it goes. And did anyone not see this coming? I think we all knew that he had some coaching left in the tank when the Seattle situation soured.
Yeah, he wants to coach. He wants to be there, and he wants that stadium to be filled.
I'm so proud to be part of that and recognizing that we get to represent our following. And here in Las Vegas, to do it in this setting right here where people can't wait to come see us. They can't wait to see what we're all about. We do want to fill our stadium up with our guys. I know that we have a good draw for people from out of town. There you go. There you go. That's what I'm talking about. Hey, Mark, settle down a little bit.
Love that. Calling out Mark Davis.
Them in the hallway where he comes up and sees him, and he's like, "Was that you who yelled it?" And he's like, "Yeah, who else was going to yell that?"
Pete was also asked how involved Tom Brady was in the process.
He's been integrally involved. Wherever I know that the process could allow him to be in. We haven't seen him. He's not been here. He's got a big job, but he has been a really exciting part of it.
One more thing for Pete. He's talking about the fun throughout the entire process.
The stuff that you guys have heard, about Pete and having fun, like you mentioned about throwing the ball around, all that. That's part of it. That's part of it. But it's about the competing and proving that you have value and you have worth and you can add to it. I don't care how old you are.
Did he just speak in third person?
He did. I heard that too.
I've never heard him do that before. I think Pete Carroll just went third person.
The stuff that you guys have heard, about Pete and having fun, like you mentioned about throwing the ball around, all that. That's part of it. That's part of it. But it's about the competing and proving that you have value and you have worth and you can add to it. I don't care how old you are.
I had a coach in high school who would get so irritated because we'd be sitting there getting ready for a game. I'm like, "Hey, coach, Burkhart's ready to start today. If you want to start Burkhart,
yeah.
Why are you go just?" Talk to me like a human, Chris. Yeah. Come on. What are you talking about? Burkhart's ready.
Well, I've never heard him do that before, but I do like the hire, and it's very simple with Pete Carroll. He knows how to rebuild a program. He's a culture setter, and he's one of those guys that has so much experience because he's been a head coach for the last 30 years. So I think for the Raiders, he'll come in and provide direction and lay a foundation, build a culture, and get them back on track to start moving in the right direction. And I don't care about his age. Age is just a number, and he's a young 70s type guy with a lot of energy. But he loves coaching more than anything, and he wants to win. And so and the great thing about him, too, with his connections, he can bring in the right people to build a good staff to be productive.
Yeah, and I think you can set it up right so you have your exit plan, right? But you look at what he did in Seattle, like you just said about culture. He changed that thing. He flipped that team upside down, made it his, and made them a perennial winner. And that's exactly what Las Vegas is missing, is that leadership, and I think he can provide that.
All right, Chris Burkhart's got game day coming up at 5. Dame and the Bucks are in town.
What we doing? Throwing money at the rim. Yeah, what we doing? Throwing money at the rim.
Till 6, and then Sean Hyken of Rose Garden Report is going to join us next and talk some ball. We're live here at Dr. Jack's to kick off our 50-50 raffle benefiting ALS Northwest. You got the Rip City Drive with Chad doing.
breaking news around the NBA and your Portland Trailblazers, we turn to our insider from the Rose Garden Report, Sean Highkin. Check him out online at rosegardenreport.com or on X @Highkin.
All right, we're live here at Dr. Jack's, getting ready for the Trailblazers and Bucks coming up. 7 o'clock tip from Moda Center, and we're kicking off our 50-50 raffle fundraiser for ALS Northwest. Your chance to help out a great cause and put yourself in a position to walk away with some cash. Go to our website, ripcityradio.com, click on the 3-bar menu, upper left-hand corner, and just head down to features and then click on calendar, and you'll see the link to the 50-50 raffle fundraiser for ALS Northwest. And you'll have the link there to buy your tickets, and it's going to go on from now for the next 6 weeks, and we can raise money for ALS Northwest and help those who have been impacted by the disease and also the family members who have to provide care, which is extreme. Joining me now is our Trailblazer insider from Rose Garden Report, Sean Highkin. I want to play this clip for you. I did it for Burkhart, and I want to get your reaction after the game on Sunday. You know, Toumani Camara had just scored a career-high 24 points. He was asked if that was his best offensive game, and here's what he had to say. Take a listen to this.
Yes, just how efficient it was offensively, and I feel like I was able to make great reads. But yeah, I feel like defensively, it wasn't a great game for me. I feel like I was getting beat on one-on-ones way too easily, which is something that I take a lot of pride in. And I don't know, there's just some days where, I mean, the effort was still there. It's just, I don't know, I wasn't moving my feet like I usually do, and it was frustrating. But a lot of times my teammates had my back. But yeah, it's just on to the next one and just learn from this game.
I mean, seriously, Sean, you were there, but how much of a Toumani answer is that where
Yep.
he scores 24, doesn't give a rat's about that. He cares more about the fact his defense wasn't up to par.
No, he can't. He's not going to be happy about scoring a career high in a game that even though they were playing the best team in the league and nobody really expected them to win that game, he's still not going to be, A, happy that they lost, and B, if he doesn't feel like he played his best defensively, he's not going to say, oh, well, at least they scored 24 points.
The Trailblazers have to be thrilled at what they have in him, right?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it's him. The 4 guys that I think are, and, Scoot Henderson recently has come on a little bit, so I think you can maybe put him in this group now. But, but Toumani, Denny, Klingon, Shaden. Toumani's absolutely in that group.
No question. He's great. And his tenacity, his willingness to work on that end is really impressive. Now, I want to play another clip. This is Denny Avdia. He was asked about, he and Toumani, and he talked about the connection, and you wrote on this, but let's take a listen to that.
Me and Toumani have a very good relationship off the court. I feel like we're very good in communicating with each other. We're both really competitors. We want to help the team as much as we can, and I feel like we can switch pretty much all the time. So we're high motors, and it's fun to play with somebody like him on the team. But obviously, I feel like it's contagious, and all the guys are pretty much playing hard, and our communication is all in all better for sure.
All right, it's a unique pairing. Those two have been the 2 best players on the team so far this year. What are your thoughts on that interesting pairing between Denny and Toumani?
Well, the thing about it to me is that it works with pretty much any combination of other guys on the team. You can play them at the 2 and the 3. You can play them at the 3 and the 4 together. You can even have Denny's been running a lot more of the offense this year than he did previously in Washington. And, so you can even play him at the 1 in some lineups. Like, there's just a lot of, with the 2 of them together, and I think this is why Joe Cronin was so motivated to get not only Toumani Camara in the DeAndre Ayton, Yusuf Nurkic trade, but also why he was so motivated to get Denny Avdia this summer, is that those 2 guys together, you can put them with whoever, and they'll fit, and they'll find a way to be effective.
So versatility is critical with them.
Exactly, yeah.
Now, what I like, too, is, the Blazers have been searching for these type of players for so long, but their willingness to work on both ends of the floor at all times. Like, they never let up. They continue to push. That's got to have an impact on their teammates, especially in practice and the way those guys continue to go about their business.
Oh, yeah, and when you're building whatever you want to call a winning culture this early in a rebuild, and this, with a lot of the stuff about the identity of the team, this kind of up in the air as, a lot of stuff kind of has to get figured out. But if you have those 2 guys, on that end, you have them kind of in that role, that's pretty solid.
Yeah, it's terrific. Sean Highkin, our Trailblazer insider, is with us here live from Dr. Jack's, getting ready for the Bucks and Trailblazers. What do you expect from Dame tonight?
I think it's going to be a lot more of just a normal game tonight than it was last year. So last year, they did the whole tribute video. Dame had that, extra press conference that they opened up that that auxiliary room for. Yep. And it was a whole thing. Not only did they have the one tribute video, they had the two tribute videos. They had the one about his kind of on-court, highlights, and then they had one about like the off-court stuff. I don't think they're going to be doing anything like that tonight, because it's like once you do it the first time, when the guy comes back the first time, they don't have to do all that after that. Now it's like, okay, they've had the big homecoming, they've had the whole pageantry, they've had the whole making it into a big event. I don't feel like they need to make it into a whole event like that again. So it's going to be, obviously he's going to get huge cheers from the crowd. There's going to be a lot of Dame jerseys in the crowd, and he's going to get a very good reception, but it's not going to be a whole thing the way it was the last time.
Yeah, that makes sense. How much do you think the players, the Blazers are a younger roster. This is their only chance to be showcased on national television throughout the entire season. They're going to be on TNT. How much do you think that matters for those young guys to get out on that stage where some of their peers are going to be watching them so they can showcase some of the improvements they've made this year?
I think it does matter. And, I mean, last year also it was the only time they were on national TV, the game that they played the Bucks. And they won that game. Not only did they win that game, that was the best because of the Dame stuff. It was the best crowd that they've had all season. So, yeah, I think that does matter. These guys really haven't. And this is kind of the same point that – I mean, it's not quite exactly the same situation, but this is kind of the same point that I was making back in November, December when we were talking about the NBA Cup and how, there are some stakes to those games, and it's a good thing for these young guys who haven't really won anything to be, playing in games that feel like they mean something. And obviously this isn't an NBA Cup game. This is just another regular season game, but the crowd is going to be a playoff-type crowd because so many people are going to come out for Dame. It's going to be on national TV, so, it's going to I should probably look this up. I don't know who's going to be on the call for TNT tonight, but, it's going to be, national announcers. It's not going to be Kevin, Lamar, and Brooke. It's, it feels like more of a big, event that since they lost Dame, they haven't really had any games that have felt like that except for when Dame comes back. And so if the Blazers, I don't know if they're going to win this game, but I think if they, at least, stay in the game and it's a respectable showing and, maybe, if Scoot has a good game. Because Scoot, if I recall, Scoot had a good game against them last year when they, Scoot and, Shaden, Danny, Tumani, like all the guys and pretty much everybody except for Matisse Thybulle is going to be able to go tonight. So, everybody's going to be able to get in and to have that showcase on national TV. I think if they let it could be a good showcase.
All right, you've probably been asked this by Blazer fans, but what was your reaction to the reduction in minutes for Scoot at the end of the road trip after he had that stretch of playing so well?
I get it because they just, guys were coming back from injury, so I get it, but I'm kind of with the people that are just kind of looking at it and saying, what are they doing here? And I mean, it's just the whole thing is just a weird situation because, like, organizationally, I mean, you look at that Charlotte game, and Scoot only plays 22 minutes in that game, and their two leading scorers are Anthony Simons and Jeremy Grant, who both, I think we can safely say, are not, long to whether they get traded this deadline or next summer or whatever the case may be. I don't know when any of that's going to happen.
You don't expect either one to be here 2 years from now.
Correct. And so, when you're winning games against a team that's close to you in the standings, and those are your two leading scorers, it's kind of like a what are we doing here type of thing. But also, like, if you're Chauncey Billups, like, I've written it a half dozen times. We've talked about it on the radio constantly. I don't think very many people think Chauncey's going to be back next season. So if you're Chauncey, what does Chauncey care about helping these guys get a better draft pick or developing Scoot? Because
he won't be here to be a part of the pick.
He's not going to be here to coach Cooper Flagg if they get Cooper Flagg. So it's like Chauncey is doing exactly what Chauncey should do in that situation, which is coach and try to win games because he's in some ways auditioning for whatever his next job is and wants to kind of show people what he can do, and he's not invested in whether they get a good draft pick or not. So it's just, the whole situation is just kind of weird, but this is just kind of going to be what it is until either they trade some people at the trade deadline, whether they do that or not, I don't know, or, once you get past the trade deadline, past the All-Star break, if they don't trade any of those guys, are they going to do the thing that they've done the last few years where they do the shutdown and just like, guys are suddenly out with ankle injuries and like that, and that's how they manage it until you take it out of the coach's hands. That's just kind of how it's going to be.
Well, that's what I was going to ask you. What do you anticipate happening, regardless of what happens at the deadline? What do you anticipate happening after the All-Star weekend?
I don't think there's any reason to believe it's not going to be the same thing that it's been the last.
So they'll start to shut down.
Yeah, eventually.
Bets.
Maybe not right away. They may do it gradually, but I think whether these guys are traded or not, it's gonna be a lot of the same. I mean, the good news, I guess, is that this year there are more guys that are going to be getting those minutes that are actually maybe going to be a part of this thing, like Chris Murray getting more minutes down the stretch, Rayan Rupert getting more minutes down the stretch. Those are actually guys the Blazers value and want to develop. It's not going to be like it was a couple of years ago where they're literally just pulling guys out of the G League on 10-day contracts just to fill the spots and fill the bodies. So it's not quite as egregious, but I mean, I think the preference for everybody would be if they can find workable deals in the next 10 days for Anthony Simons and Jeremy Grant and, resolve it that way. But it's still so far before the deadline that I don't really have a good read on what's going to be available, whether anything is going to be available that Joe Cronin decides is worth doing, or, how any of that works.
Well, it makes sense then. So really what the situation is right now, you have a coach who won't be here after the season. He is trying to showcase what he can do as a coach, and so therefore he's going to play and utilize the guys that he believes gives him the best chance to win games until those guys are no longer available to play.
Everybody's doing what they should be doing for themselves in this situation. Yeah. The Blazers should be, as an organization, the Blazers should be valuing, getting Scoot and Shade in that time together. Chauncey, knowing what kind of his contract situation is and what his future is going to be, should be trying to win games. Everybody's doing what you expect them to do, and what you can explain why they're doing what they're doing. It's just, and I wrote this back in the summer when when Chauncey was going into a contract.
I remember what he said at the exit interviews.
When he said at exit interviews that he was hoping they would be focused on winning, and then Joe 20 minutes later came up and said, "Yeah, we're still focused on developing." And it's like, eventually, at the time it was kind of obvious that they weren't really on the same page about what the goals were, and Chauncey so far has seemed like he's been kind of willing to go along with it for now, but at this point, in the last week or so, it's kind of gotten to a point where, I don't know if they're kind of on the same page about all this stuff. So and it's going to, again, until something is done, whether it's trading somebody or the forced shutdown thing, which I get it, but I thought it was a bad look when they've done that the last couple of years. I don't think there's any really real way to sell that to fans except for, hey, we need a better chance at getting Cooper Flagg, which they can't explicitly come out and say. So it's just kind of you see them kind of ending up in the same situation that they've been in the last few years, unless they can do something in the next 10 days.
What's a likely landing spot when it comes to draft order or lottery position?
Right now they're 7th. I think. Well, I mean, New Orleans, I think, is the one team that's ahead of them that I don't think is really interested in staying at the bottom. They've just had a ton of injuries. I think they're going to try to, get back in the play-in and try to salvage it. But, you look at some of these other teams, Washington, obviously. I don't think anybody's catching Washington at the bottom. Charlotte has, Brandon Miller out for the season. This is kind of a lost season for them. They have a ton of guys hurt. And then, Toronto's another one where I don't think Toronto is, outright tanking the way that some of these other teams are. I think they likely, as of right now, if there's no roster changes and they just do kind of the normal shutdown thing that they're probably going to do after the deadline, I think 5 is attainable. 6 is probably where I would guess they end up. And 7th is where they are right now. And then they maybe they get lucky and jump up, because Atlanta was 9th or 10th last year and they jumped up to 1, so it theoretically could happen. But it's not, if they go through this again for basically the 4th year in a row of trying to get a high draft pick and they end up with the 6th or 7th pick again, even though this draft class is supposed to be pretty good, if you don't end up in the top 3 in the lottery, that's, it's not ideal.
All right. Scoot's play over the last few weeks has been remarkably better. He had that 4 or 5 game stretch that was tremendous. How has that changed the way you look at Scoot?
I mean, he's starting, now that he's gotten the opportunity, I think he's starting to make some real strides. And even some of the games, I'm kind of throwing out those outlier shooting games, in the last game against Oklahoma City and the one against Brooklyn where he had 39. I'm kind of throwing that out because that's not really his game. Some of these other games, I think his, the way he's, distributed and the way, just kind of the overall way he's played, even if the box score numbers weren't as flashy as some of those, I think those ones to me are more indicative of, there's some real strides being made there, and I think the Blazers as an organization are just hoping that continues over the next 3 months until the season is over. And
that would have to really help in terms of moving into the offseason if he continues this type of play the rest of the way through until the end of the year, they would have to feel pretty good about where he's at 21 and moving into year number 3.
Yeah, you want to see progress, and you saw some of that towards the end of last season, but that was kind of towards the end of the year where they were not playing all their guys, and most of the teams they were playing weren't playing all their guys, and so you don't know how kind of real that was. We're still kind of in the part of the season where most of the teams that they're playing are trying to win these games, and so it's not just March where this stuff is totally fake and both teams are like not playing their rotation guys because they're either trying to compete for lottery balls like the Blazers are, or they're trying to rest guys for the playoffs and feel like they don't have to play all their guys against these guys. We're not at that point in the season yet, and Scoot is, for the most part, outside of the the Orlando game where he fouled out in 12 minutes, or the Charlotte game where he didn't do too much. Other than that, he's been pretty good for really the whole month of January.
All right, so you mentioned the 4 guys with Tamani, Denny, Klingon, and Shaden.
Mm-hmm.
If Scoot continues this play, and then you basically have 5 young guys that you're thrilled about, I mean, that's a pretty good place to be moving into the future, right? If you've got 5 legitimate young players that you believe are a part of your future.
It's a good place to be, but they need 2 things. They need, I think, to clear up some of the, with Ant and with Jeremy, and to a lesser extent with DA, like they need to clear some of that stuff up with trades or, whatever that might end up looking like. They need to kind of resolve some of that. And then they also need the centerpiece, whether that's Cooper Flagg, whether that's Dylan Harper, whether that's whoever they get in the draft, whether it's somebody they trade. I don't know, but like the way they're kind of set up now, they have a lot of the role players and the complementary guys in place. And so if let's say the absolute best case scenario hits and they get the number 1 pick, they get Cooper Flagg. They're not going to be dropping him into a situation like the Spurs did last year with Wembanyama, where they basically didn't have any other NBA players on their roster. So it's like you have this phenomenon, you have this guy that's clearly a franchise guy, and you just like don't have anyone to put him with. If the Blazers end up with Cooper Flagg, they're going to be like, okay, we've got Cooper Flagg, we've got Denny, we've got Tumani, we've got Klingon, we've got Sharp, we've got Scoot, we've got they've got other guys, and they can say, okay, we can try to be good pretty quickly.
All right, so final question. With everything you're seeing and hearing around the league, who do you think are the top 5 in order right now for the upcoming draft?
So Cooper Flagg, I think, is a pretty solid number 1. And then I think, Dylan Harper, I think, is pretty cemented at number 2. Ace Bailey from Rutgers is also, in there. And then the kid Kasparis from Illinois is another one that's really been rising up a lot. And then after that, it's kind of a...
So it's really 4 and then kind of a mix after that.
Yeah.
Who is... who's your number 2 after Cooper?
I haven't watched enough college to really have strong takes on this stuff, but people seem to really like Dylan Harper. And I know he's also a lead guard, so that might be like a, do they feel comfortable enough with Scoot going forward to not draft that guy? I still feel like they're in a position where you have to take the best talent on the board no matter what position they play and then figure out the fit stuff later. That's still kind of where they're at, but it seems like Dylan Harper, to most people at this point, is the number 2 guy.
All right, you can follow him on social at Hyken. He's at the Rose Garden Report. You can check it out, rosegardenreport.com, and he'll be covering the game tonight with the Bucks and Blazers with Dame back in town. Have you had a chance to talk to Dame yet?
I haven't. I don't even know if he's here yet. Because the Bucks played in Utah last night, so I think they got in earlier today, so I haven't seen anybody yet.
All right. Well, I appreciate the time, man.
Yeah.
Enjoy the game tonight.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
All right, Sean Hyken, my man. We'll keep things rolling here. Rip City Drive is live at Dr. Jack's as we kick off the 50-50 raffle to benefit ALS Northwest with our friends from Coors Light. And Chris Burkhart's got game day coming up at 5 here in your home of the Blazers, 620 Rip City Radio. All right, live here at Dr. Jack's. We have Blazers Game Day with Chris Burkhardt coming up at 5, and we're down here to kick off the 50-50 raffle for ALS Northwest, inspired by Mike Lynch. And, of course, my grandfather, Mr. Donald, and a chance for you to do something special. So what I want you to do, and it's going to go for the next 6 weeks, so if you go to ripcityradio.com, just hit the 3-bar menu in the upper left-hand corner. And when you get the drop-down menu, head on down to features and then click calendar, and you're going to see the link right there to the 50-50 raffle fundraiser for ALS Northwest. And from there, you'll have the link to purchase your raffle tickets. It's critical because the disease is horrendous. And as Lance Christensen mentioned earlier today, people's insurance often will cover, many different things involved with the disease, but then it falls short of some of the different items you'll need when it comes to mobility, like wheelchairs or different home improvements that you have to make to be able to have access to different areas of the house when you're dealing with someone with ALS. So they help to kind of fill in the gaps. And by contributing, you can make a difference in the lives of so many, not just the people impacted directly by the disease, but the family members who are providing care. And so, it's a big deal. And so I'm asking you to buy some raffle tickets. It gives you a chance to win some money. And then 50% of the proceeds are going to head straight to ALS Northwest so they can continue to help families that are impacted by the disease and be able to fill in those gaps so people can have the tools that they need to have success in their treatment. So that's where you're at. Now, the game tonight, of course, Dame is back in town. Unique setup for the Blazers. Their only nationally televised game, so I'm excited to see the young guys play. Coach is going to have access to everyone except for Matisse Thybulle. So we're going to get a chance to see all the young guys, the 5 I've mentioned, play and be able to showcase. So there you have it. That's what's going on. Tip-off will be at 7 o'clock. Now, in regards to the Super Bowl, I'm not going to lay out my entire take on the game yet because I need some time to be able to break it down and think about it. But very simply, I'm looking at it from this standpoint. I'm not going to bet against the best coach and the best quarterback in the world. It's not going to happen. Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes. And I just think they're going to find a way to get the job done. Every time we doubt them, every time we think someone's going to be able to have enough to get over on them, they find a way to get it done. And when you give Andy Reid 2 weeks to prepare, I think he's going to be able to come up to find the wrinkles within the offense to be able to move the football, like we saw in the game against Buffalo when they utilized Mahomes as a runner and he had over 40 yards rushing and 2 touchdowns. And then defensively, Steve Spagnuolo, that synergy between he and Andy Reid and the way they're able to attack on both sides of the football is tremendous. Now with Philadelphia, they got a lot of things going for them. Best roster in football. Their defensive line is very aggressive, and they can create penetration. They're going to be able to create a lot of issues for the Chiefs' offensive front. And then you've got the game breaker in Saquon Barkley. Now with Jalen Hurts, look, he's not at Patrick Mahomes' level. I wouldn't even put Jalen Hurts in the elite category, but he's a darn good quarterback. And what I like about him, one, he's good for 2 to 3 remarkable plays per game, but his poise, the calm in which he operates in big moments. And this is something he developed back at Alabama under Nick Saban and continued it at Oklahoma, and we've seen it with Philadelphia so far during his run in the NFL. He doesn't wilt to the pressure of big moments. He has confidence. He believes in his abilities, and we see that mentality in the huddle, the calmness, the way that he operates in those type of situations. So he gives confidence to his teammates because he knows the offense, he knows what they're trying to accomplish, and even though he doesn't look as pretty as some of the others doing it, he's an effective player, but an even better leader. So I'm really impressed with him and just the overall attack of the Eagles. But they run the football, and this is what's beautiful about the NFL. So many different ways to win the game. For the Eagles, it's about running the football, controlling to go against or bet against or pick against Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes. With Patrick, and I've seen some great quarterbacks in my time because I grew up with Dan Marino, John Elway, Joe Montana, and then we got Peyton Manning and Tom Brady. But Patrick Mahomes is the best I've seen. And it pains me to say that as an Elway fan, and I understand Tom Brady's got 7 rings, but Patrick Mahomes does it better than anyone I've ever seen. The combination of leadership, understanding the offense, knowing what the defense is trying to accomplish, and then you mix in the arm strength, the athleticism, and his ability to play within that Andy Reid offense. And, of course, like usual, you've got to have a great connection between coach and quarterback, and those two, because they've been working together for years, they just understand each other so well. So Patrick is going to follow lead, and he understands what Andy Reid's trying to do with the offense, but Andy Reid's always going to do his best to put Patrick in a position to have success. And what I like about Patrick is willingness to adjust his game to suit the talent around him, whether it be because of injuries that we've seen this year or youth at receiver like we saw last year. He's willing to do whatever it takes to win. So if that means he's got to go short passing game and utilize his legs from time to time, he can do that. If that means they're going to run the football and try to get aggressive at the line of scrimmage, he can do that. And then, of course, he's shown it in the past when they had different personnel. He can go bombs away and get downfield. So it's just they can win games in a variety of different ways. And I'm a big believer, whether it's basketball or football, that the best teams have a mentality and a way of winning games in a variety of different ways. Like in basketball, you know, how do the best teams win on nights when they don't have their best offense, when they're not making the threes, when they're struggling to, you know, find rhythm offensively? Well, they do it by getting stops, by rebounding well, by getting aggressive defensively and creating opportunities in transition. Or they'll drive and attack the rim and get to the free throw line. They manufacture wins by finding different ways to attack. And the Chiefs are great at that. And so I think a lot of people didn't want to see the Chiefs. I think people get tired of teams that win all the time. But for me, I just want the best possible matchup. And at least I think this game features that with the Eagles and the Chiefs. You know, the two best teams in football, two of the best rosters in football, and you've got dynamic playmakers on both sides. You've got Saquon Barkley, who went for 2,000-plus yards rushing. He joins that elite club. And then you've got Patrick Mahomes and Travis Kelce on the other side. And then Chris Jones, who's one of the best defensive linemen in football. So it's that type of versatility, the playmakers. It's going to make for a great matchup. It'll be interesting to see what the line does over the course of time the next 2 weeks. You know, is the number going to creep up a bit, maybe get to 2.5, or is it going to come down? Where's the money going to go? So there you have it. That's how I see it. I'm not going to bet against Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid. And I guess part of me wants to see Mahomes get 3 straight because it would give him an opportunity to track down Tom Brady. You get to 3 straight, and do something that's never been done before, he's going to put himself in a position to not only match Brady's Super Bowls, but to do something he hasn't done and put himself above everyone else. And who would have thought we'd be talking about this so soon after Tom Brady's career has been over? But that's how good he is. And it's amazing to me that no one was talking about Patrick Mahomes the way that he's playing now in the NFL when he came out of college at Texas Tech. And I think a lot of people thought, well, it's the Big 12, it's Texas Tech, it's wide open. Of course, he's going to put up numbers. Consider the competition. But look at him now. All right, that's going to do it for me. Again, go to our website and take advantage of our 50-50 raffle to benefit ALS Northwest. Go to the website, click on the 3-bar icon upper left-hand corner, go down to features, hit calendar, and you'll find the link for the 50-50 raffle fundraiser for ALS Northwest. You can take part in something special and have a chance to win some cash. And they're going to announce the winner, the winning ticket, on March 12th. All right, coming up next, Chris Burkhardt with Blazers Game Day, and then the tip-off with the Blazers and Bucks at 7 right here on 620 Rip City Radio.